Guys, I cannot wait until the second week in November. Can't even tell you how excited I am for the second week in November. I want this election to end. And if you can even call it that's the weirdest, other than 2020, it was a weird election. This one is just as weird. So strange. But I can tell you, but also so divisive. Everybody is just so lined up in their own little personal camp. And I think it's ridiculous. I think it's over emotional. You can't think when you're over emotional. Your reason is distorted. And and believe me, political parties are preying upon that, and therefore they have no qualms because they want your vote and they want it early before you change your mind. So they encourage early voting so that you won't end up going, maybe I shouldn't do that strictly because of this crap that I heard or this misinformation that I read about X, Y, and Z. I'm a very calm person, guys, and I can tell you I'm not, well, I guess some people would go, no, you're not. I've seen you in meetings. It depends. It's a case-by-case situation. Look, being a lawyer is an acting job too, guys, and if I have to sit there and push a gas pedal here and there to let them know that what they're doing is ridiculous, I'll press the gas, okay? But by and large, I'm a very sort of chill, serious individual. And I read a lot, and I read a variety of subjects. I do not like fiction. There might be some, well, that's not true because I see Ayn Rand behind me. I like Atlas Shrugged. It's my favorite fiction book. At the same time, some of these books that might be fiction are my wife's. But as far as anything else other than what my wife reads, no, I am all about history. I'm all about current events. I'm all about biographies and things of that nature. I'm not but I do read a lot. I do my research. If there's anything going on politically or policy-wise when it comes to things that can impact special education, 504, ADA, I will absolutely deep dive into that stuff. But I can tell you, don't come to me with stuff because I'm going to look at it. Okay, because somebody posted a question or they posted something. They want me to share this video with everybody, about evil Trump and the truth about Project 2025. And I can't even tell you, guys, I am so sick of seeing this nonsense about this fear mongering about Project 2025 as though it means anything, as though it's going to have any traction whatsoever. We already have had 4 years of Trump. We already had 4 years of Trump, guys. And guess what? Department of Education still here. Guess what? We had a horrible Secretary of Education in DeVos. But yet at the same time, when COVID happened and the student and the teachers unions during COVID, along with the education union or the education lobbies, were fighting to have the standard of fate diminished and watered down so that they didn't owe compensatory services. As stupid as I thought DeVos was and useless in that position, the Department of Education and the Trump administration stood their ground, and they did not water down or diminish the standard of FAPE. And they could have done it. They could have capitulated to the unions and to the lobbies. And the unions are not Republican, guys. The unions, along with the political bodies that run the education system, are not Republicans. They're not conservatives by any means. They overwhelmingly contribute on the left. Okay, and they're the ones that wanted to water down and diminish the standard of FAPE during COVID. Okay, because also those were also the people responsible for the extended closures and not wanting our kids to go back to school when it was perfectly safe for them to do so. But it's not like we didn't have the data. We did have the data. They wanted to ignore the data, and therefore we had learning loss, massive learning loss across the country. Worse in some of the states that I have an office in, New Mexico, for example, because they were one of the states that extended their closures well into the 2020-21 school year. And as opposed to, let's say, Alabama, that there was some hybrid in the beginning. But all of this being said, I already have 4 years of understanding of what a Trump administration would be and what that would mean for special education. And the other reality is this. The federal agencies, those people are bureaucrats. They work there regardless of the political institution that happens to be in the White House. And the majority of the bureaucrats that sit in the Office of Special Education Programs, OSEP, OCR, the Department of Education, they're all left-leaning individuals, guys. The mass majority of them. They're left-leaning. They have their job regardless if there's a Democrat or a Republican in office. And if Trump is elected, they will continue to be there. People aren't getting fired. And I can tell you that because these individuals that work in these departments are left-leaning, nothing's going to change other than what you've been experiencing. And if you think everything's been hunky-dory and great in the Department of Education, and if you think everything's been hunky-dory with regards to OSEP decisions for our kids or the direction OCR is going, well, bravo, you get more of that. I don't agree with you. Okay? I think that there's very wrong things going on in education and public education. I think our administrative levels are top heavy. I don't think that we're spending money in the way that it needs to be spent. I think that we've lost teacher units because we are overpaying, or paying for too many administrators, not enough people on the ground. I saw rampant abuse over the last 4 years of the use of COVID funds. I wasn't a Republican, in office that was overseeing all this stuff. But there was a lot of permissibility as to how these funds could be used. And only a small percentage had to be used to address learning loss. The rest could be used for buildings, things of that nature. And they were. Hell, I know a school system in Alabama that put in a chill room for their teachers with massage chairs. I'm talking about $100,000 to turn this room into a quiet room for their teachers, okay? Because of the stress of COVID. That was the excuse that they made. So, with regards to this nonsense about this fear-mongering about Project 2025, that's a Heritage Foundation thing, and the Heritage Foundation, whatever. I don't really care. You know what would happen if I sit there and I bellyached all the time about what came out of left-leaning think tanks and the nonsense that comes out of left-leaning just as much as conservative or right-wing think tanks? They can have whatever opinion they want to have. But in application, this stuff doesn't see the light of day. The IDEA is a congressional act. It was adopted by Congress. So if the Department of Education went away tomorrow, the IDEA would remain. And even within this crappy Project 2025 that everybody's scared of, that's addressed. It would move to the Health and Human Services Department. They would oversee it. But guess what? Prior to President Carter in the 70s, we didn't have a Department of Education. It was embedded within, I believe it was Health and Human Services. It was a subgroup within Health and Human Services as a bigger agency. It didn't have its own department. So it's not like the Department of Education has been around since George Washington, guys. It's been a fairly recent development. But you can't sit there and say that our test scores and our results in this country have gone up as a result of having it. I'd argue the opposite. Our scores are going down, all right? But yet, we spend all this money on this department, and we should be seeing results from it. So all this stuff to where, oh my gosh, I'm so concerned and scared about what's going on with Project 2025, it's fear-mongering. And like I said, I have a comparison to what Harris has done the last 4 years, and I have a comparison of the prior 4 years before that of what Trump. So it's not like we don't know. It's not like there's some great unknown out there. It's just that I'm telling you, I get so sick of this fear mongering and this emotional response. It's not rooted in any kind of in the video that she's wanting me to share. It has nobody's name. It doesn't cite any experts. The people that they're interviewing are parents, which are emotional. And I'm not to take away from that. I could tell 500 emotional stories involving my child. But at the same time, is it rooted in any kind of fact or reality? No. I understand the fear. I understand the concern. But that's what it is. It's fear and concern. But point to something tangible, not to something that you think may happen. That we already have 4 years where it didn't happen. So I'm sorry. I don't share stuff that isn't rooted in reality, reason, logic, and can be backed up by multiple sources. And it's not. And so therefore I would be sharing the equivalent of Halloween 5, so close to Halloween itself, or Friday the 13th, to scare the bejesus out of everybody, about Project 2025. And I have absolutely no concern about it whatsoever. Nothing changed between 2016 and 2020 with regards to education. And the positive that came out of it, and that I thank baby little Jesus for, is that they had the wherewithal and the fortitude under so much attack and assault to stand firm for our kids and say, we are not diminishing the standard of FAPE. I don't think the Biden administration would have done that. Absolutely. I think they would have capitulated to the unions and to the administrative lobbies, and I think they would have watered down FAPE. They don't have a good track record, guys, with regards to not capitulating to their base, which is loud, emotional, vitriolic, mean. People that sit there and go, oh, we're the kind people. We love and embrace everybody. I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing that. You know who leaves me alone? You know who doesn't yell at me? Who doesn't tell me how wrong I am and dumb I am? And I'm not a conservative, guys. I'm a libertarian by nature. I want to live and let live. And I don't have any enemy. I don't hate people, okay? But you better come to me with facts, and you better come to me with a damn good argument, because if not, I'm not listening. And I don't listen to emotional rants. And calling me names and using the isms and all of those things, like I said, that's a left thing. And it's turning people off big time. Because to sit there and say we're the party of love, we're the party of acceptance, but that's not what I see. That's not what I see.